Welcome back to one more session on Lean Six Sigma for a green belt. Okay, let me share my screen and then we will take it forward from there. Okay, hope you are able to see my screen. So what we are trying to cover here is we are discussing on this Lean Six Sigma, which is relevant to the RCM, right? First thing we discuss about why. So why we need to learn this particular Lean Six Sigma and then the new methodologies, how we are going to improve our operational optimization. So this we covered in the last 8 weeks, right? We discussed about understanding the Lean Six Sigma, identifying what all the waste can be eliminated. It is a better way to bring it to the revenue optimization and then bring our RCM into the next phase, right? See, as we are living in the Gen AI world, right? How to optimize, how to bring that into the betterment of the process is very important. We are going to think about our customer, how we are going to improve the revenue for them. That is very important in this particular aspects. Right, coming to the week 9. So we are going to cover on the DMAC methodology. Okay, this is a core of your Six Sigma. From here, we are going to start DMAC details. Okay, the first one we are going to define. Okay, how the define should be, right? What are all the things you have to do in the define phase? One, in the define phase, we are identifying what is my objective of the project and how I'm going to how I selected my project and what is my selection criteria, right? All your defined or identified project should align with your organizational goal and strategical alignment. That is very important. If you're not aligned on your strategical alignment of the organization, your project is not going to be approved by your stakeholders or your project managers, right? So the broader objective would be it should take care of the long term strategy. Okay, the Six Sigma project is a quite lengthier one, and whatever we are going to do here in the DMAC methodology, the whatever you are giving the impact, there is an outcome, it should give the solution for the long term strategy, right? And the project selection, it is based on the criteria key factor what you are defining in your project role. Right. So coming to the how to select the project, right? See, as we know very well, it should be the customer focused breakthrough. See, we are identifying the defects. See, there will be multiple defects available, but what customer is facing in the major role. See, coming to RCM, right? In that, I'm going to identify what creating my major denial. That is my selection criteria. And then I'll go to the root cause analysis to identify which project will be the betterment for this particular one, right? And say, for example, I am taking a project to reduce variation, or my project is to minimize defects and shorten the revenue cycle timeline and then improve yield or enhance the customer satisfaction and boost the bottom line. Say, what is my bottom line? It's a revenue generation, right? I'm going to improve my revenue generation. And I'm aiming at 3.4 million, the 3.4 errors per million, right? That's my DPMO. I'm going towards my Six Sigma. This is my role, right? This is the way I'm going to select my project. See, first one, when you select any project, we have to define what is your quantifiable target you are going to achieve. And you are going to define everything in your project charter. And as a green belt guy, you are responsible for your project charter and bringing the quantifiable target. And SIPOC alignment is very important in defining phase, right? You have to understand what is your SIPOC. See, and then the project success metrics, as we discussed, y equal to f of x. X is your input file and y is your output, right? Whenever you are concentrating on the outcome basis, your input plays a major role, right? So overall problem or a project goal, which represented by y, and your input dependent, see independent input process, causes and problem will be considered as a x. See, from this problem, what output you are going to give using what process, right? That's called your y equal to f of x. And DFSS we already covered, defined for Six Sigma. and in that we have two items. One is IDOV and then another one is DMADV. This is for the new project mostly. Whenever we are trying to define it, we will come back. There's a other option for your DMAC methodologies. And the define we are going to get as a performance basis, right? As I told you, the project metrics has to be clearly defined. Okay, what I am going to get in this project. And performance goals. The process owner have to define what is your performance goal, what is the success rate of this particular project, and what is the continuous improvement it's going to bring in the project. And what we are going to cover now is a DMAC, how I'm going to select it. Okay, how I'm going to assess the project selection. See, first thing I have to understand whether whatever the project I'm selecting, is it suitable or not? Right? Focusing on the DMAC methodology, is it my correct approach? First thing, to establish the project foundation, you have to bring in and clarify the purpose and scope. This is very important. Why I'm doing this and what is the scope of the project, and identify the quality expectation, right? What you are going to expect out of this project. Say, for example, I'm taking one error, right? The charge entry guy is entering my date of birth as an incorrect. So how I'm going to improve that particular problem, or how I'm going to improve that particular solution for that particular problem, right? For example, date of birth incorrect. After this project, how I'm going to improve that? And establishing the realistic estimate of the timeline and the cost involved, and what is my timeline for this. Ensuring all my stakeholders and the project team get aligned for this. And assessing the current project against the strategical role. Okay, what is my strategical role? How I'm getting aligned on it. And suitability assessment, you have to ask this question to yourself to identify whether I am selecting the right project or not. Okay, first one is the data is available or easy to obtain. See, any project in Six Sigma and lean methodology without data, we are not going to start it or we are going to measure it. So in that scenario, you are going to identify is the data is available or it is easy to get it. And does my leadership is going to support my project or not? And is it going to improve my process? So that you need to clarify. And the DMAC is really okay. It's a bigger one. It's not a just do it project problem. Say, for example, as I told you, the date of birth is mismatched. I know the solution of that particular problem, then it cannot go as a DMAC project. It can be a just do it, right? Go on and correct it. So, what is the steps we need to take? It's a shorter term. It does not need a DMAC. So, we have to identify how I'm going to identify this particular problem. And second one is that team is trying to boil the ocean. What it means is, am I going to cover the entire problem in the world? No, right? I have a scope. Definite scope need to be defined on this. And is a process directly related to key outcomes such as profitability, customer satisfaction, and employee satisfaction. If it is going to cover these aspects, then only you have to select the project, right? That's the way the DMAC selection should be there. So now the process management, as we discussed in the project charter, right? Whenever you start any of the process management, you have to establish very clearly what is the purpose of the project, what is the scope, and what is your quality expectation, what you're going to improve on this, right? And alignment of the strategical objectives, right? See, my point is by doing this project, okay, what is my objective and what is my schedule and who are all my sponsors and what is my committed deliverables, what I'm going to deliver, and my team members, right? So, who are all people aligned to my team for this particular project? First, you identify the people who are all going to support in this, then you start the project. After starting the project, you cannot search for the people to come, right? And second one is the business process basic. See, business process is nothing but is a group of tasks, right? We are combining many of the project to bring in. See, for example, if RCM, it is a combining process, right? It's from the charge entry, payment posting, billing, and the rejection, AR, okay, denial, like everything is a group. That's a group of tasks which is completing my business process. So the collection related to activities such as the value of the organization and visualization and implementation. In defined phase, in this complete DMAC methodology, we are going to use a lot of visualization technique like flow charts and then process metrics right? And these will give a clear picture to the team what we are trying to do. And here the fundamental of the company's performance need to be aligned with that, and use the implementation and then business strategy. This need to be implemented in this project, and optimization is a crux of the Six Sigma. See, whatever you're touching the project, say for example, I'm planning to reduce my defects. That is, see, for example, now I am at 10% error rate. How I'm going to bring it to 1% or a 2%. That's every project will have the optimization during the Six Sigma or in the project of the Six Sigma. Right? Understanding and optimization. What I'm going to do here. That, see, here your effective process improvement is by understanding the proper root cause. See, unless you identified your RCA, you are not going to find any solution. So, whenever you have any problem, the Six Sigma methodology is going back and then digging into the root level and then identifying the issue and then bringing the next thing. And process elements, what we are going to do here is we should know what is my input, what is the process I'm doing, and what is my outputs. And the critical part here is whenever you're trying to identify the process and you have to improving and then defining its boundaries, right? So you are identified a project as you are defined and you are saying that what improvement I'm going to bring in and what is my boundary. I'm not going to cover everything in the problem, right? I'm going to do one particular issue. See, for example, as we discussed, I have a multiple problem in that the date of birth is my own issue, and then second thing, the coding team is missing to enter the right diagnosis. So I cannot combine everything in my project. I can do DOB's one project, and then your diagnosis code may be the different project. Like that, we can cover. And the process boundaries would be very clearly defined, influence and involvement of the process and its resources. Right? Say, for example, you are going for a billing improvement, like a date of birth. Right? In that scenario, you include the team from that particular resource to understand what is their problem. Otherwise, we will not identify the root cause of that issue, right? And the same way, the SIPOC, as we discussed, SIPOC is very, very important one. We are going to cover this in the 2 or 3 times here. So one is supplier, input, process, output, and customers. The purpose of the SIPOC is mainly to understand how I am getting this. Okay, so for example, you have to write a step to create name of the process and define what is the starting and end point of this, and then what is the key output and how this output is getting identified. See, the identify the entity receiving those outputs and setting top level process steps. Okay, what are all my process map to bring this one, and identifying input and entities to supplying for this inputs. See, for example, we will take the same scenario, the data birth issue, where who is the supplier? I'm getting this input, right? It is from the medical record or from the patient registration form. And my input maybe I'm going to refer it from the chart and then I'm going to take data birth, or it is going to come through my EHR. Okay, that is my input. And what is the process? Someone is manually entering this particular one, that is become my process. And the output is it is a wrong format of my date of birth. And who is the customer is going to affect it? Our client is not going to get the claim, get the revenue because of the error, and it is going to be denied as some missing info or date of birth is incorrect, something like that. Right. And the purpose of the SIPOC is very clear where I'm getting it, what is my process, what is my output, because of this output, who's benefited or affected. So that is called your SIPOC process. And whenever you're doing any of the project, it should be a system-wise thinking. Say, for example, I'm AR. I'm going to work on any of the project. I cannot think only from the AR side. It should be end to end. Say, I have to identify the root cause where this particular problem is created, and I have to go on and fix this particular issue. Right? That is called your system thinking. And definition of system, what is system? Is considering each and every part as a whole to bring that solution for the client. See, for example, if you consider the RCM, we have charge entry, payment posting, and then error reduction, and the rejection, denial, AR, right? We are combining all this process to bring a revenue to the client. So that we are considering as a system. And second one, application of Six Sigma, wherever we are identifying the system thinking is very important in the Six Sigma level. And high impact initiative, right? We identify the root cause of it. From there, we are picking it up. And then whenever there is a map out the system dynamics, you consider what is the critical thing to optimize, consider that as a big why, and what are the things you need to avoid. These two things you have to consider here, right? So what is the benefit by creating this particular define? So first thing, it avoid irrelevant issues and address the right issue. So for example, I have 5 or 6 issues. In that, I am going to work only on one particular problem, one particular problem to identify a solution. So it will become a very relevant. Okay, and the scopes are very clearly defined, right? Aids the integrating the successful management process to the single management system, right? So by whatever I am identifying, it will become a single management system to complete it. Okay, focus resource wisely on what is important to customer, shareholders, and employees. So focus is given to the benefits, right? Not for everywhere. And owners and stakeholder, as we discussed, the project, whatever you are identifying and then defining, it need to be informed and approved by the owners and the stakeholders. Then only we are going to take it to the next level. Then only you're going to get support from them. So it is our duty to bring to their notice and then get an approval and then acceptance from them. Right, customer identification, we know very well based on your problem, you know very well who's your customer. And from that, you do a brainstorming to identify your CPOC. And based on that, we are going to work on this. See, customer can be the internal or external customer. It based on the location and it based on the demographic. We are doing all this activity. And we know very well, we discuss about the VOC. And based on the VOC, we are going to understand what is the customer need. And by using the tools like Pareto and then FMEA, affinity, and then matrix diagram is going to give you the details of it and customer requirement, what I have, and then how I'm going to earn it. See, for example, the QFD, what we are discussing here is quality functional deployment. This is for a new product development, right? Which we are not going to cover in the green belt, but this is a new product development. What all the things you need to consider on, right? That's all we have for this week. I hope this will be very clear, very useful. We will connect next week for one with one more topic. Okay. Thanks all. Take care. Bye.